And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Welcome to Big Face. I'm your host, Sammy Jane Tilton, and my guest today, actor Happy Anderson. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Samantha. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. We were, Happy and I were just discussing being in this business. It's kind of a small world. We're like, have we actually met, or do we just know each other from social media?
I
So we think we actually know each other.
I'm pretty certain.
Me too. That's how as soon as like we were in touch on Facebook, I'm like, I know you.
Yeah. But wherever the fuck, we don't know.
Yeah, that's always the case. We don't fucking know. So how you doing, man?
Oh, great. I mean, this world and universe is pretty bizarre and terrible, but other than that, I'm feeling pretty solid.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because, so for those of you that don't know this, Happy is in a new movie that just came out in theaters on the 28th of August, correct?
Yeah. This past Friday, yeah.
And the new Mutants.
Right.
So for those of you, go ahead.
It's so weird. It's so weird too, because it took 3 years for it to come out, and now it's coming out at a time when like no one can go see it.
I like said to somebody, I was like, are movie theaters open right now? Like, I don't even know because, not in New York and LA. I don't think. Really? That's because I was gonna say I don't know of a movie theater near me that's playing.
No, probably not. Yeah.
So that's crazy because I heard the movie's amazing.
You know what? I haven't seen it.
That's always how it goes.
I literally have not seen it. I've gotten messages from people who've seen it and say it's great. I'm like, great, fantastic. I'll see it whenever it's on Disney Plus.
That's when did you guys shoot it? Like when was it shooting?
Oh my goodness. I think I did my part in the summer of 2017.
It's so amazing because people not in the business, you have no idea. Like movie shoot, it can be for a while, but it takes years to come out sometimes, it's so fascinating for people that don't know.
Right. And there's no rhyme or reason to it either, because sometimes stuff comes out immediately. And then, I know. And in an extreme case like this, it comes out almost half a decade later.
Oh, when you're lucky.
Yeah.
So what was that like? How was shooting that movie? And do you like X-Men and, all that kind of stuff?
Well, that's funny because I'm not really, I don't really follow Marvel or DC or anything like that. And it was one of those jobs that like just kind of came out of the clear blue sky. I got offered. I got offered while I was doing another job, and I was like, okay, yeah, why not? And Maisie
That's amazing.
Was great, and Josh was great. Josh Boone, the director. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I always have more fun on those jobs that like I didn't know I was up for.
It's always the best because there's not this like I hope so. I like it's like the when it just happens, which is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It's butter.
It's butter, and it's like because you spend all this time sweating over stuff you know about.
Yep.
And then you get a call out of nowhere, and you're, oh my God, I guess I'm going to Vancouver right now, or whatever.
Is that where they shot it?
No, that was actually in Boston, but I was going back and forth to Vancouver last year, like for a series, like so many times.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. It was a thing called Snowpiercer.
Yes, I saw that on your IMDb. So how is that? And where is that on?
That just finished airing on TNT, and I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix now.
I was going to say, I feel like it's on Netflix. Okay.
I think so.
I feel like I've seen that.
It's based on the movie that came out in 2013, which is based on a graphic novel, which I think came out in the 80s.
Okay. I love it. Was it fun?
It was great. I mean, the job was wonderful. The traveling was not great.
Yeah.
Because the schedule kept changing. So I would leave late on a Tuesday night from New York, work all day Wednesday, and then fly home first thing Thursday morning. And I did that for like 6 or 7 weeks in a row. So after a while, like physically, I started to get pretty worn down. But I love the part because I finally wasn't playing someone who hurts people.
But do you play like villainous characters a lot?
All the time. It's almost all I play.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you like it, or is you like it but you like a change?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, those roles are a lot of fun, and I'm always just happy to work. But when I can change it up a little, I love it.
It's funny because I feel like you can also be very comedic. So I think it's funny. Would I be correct by saying that?
Well, I think I can, but I don't often get asked to do that. I like the things that stand out like the most in terms of like what people recognize me from and stuff are like Mindhunter, The Nick, Birdbox, stuff like that, where like I literally killed people.
So those were a couple ones I wanted to ask you about, because you said, so before we actually did this interview, we were talking about, how other interviews go and stuff. And they usually always ask you about Birdbox and Mindhunter.
Yeah, right.
So you like were a murderer in those? I haven't seen those.
Well, yeah, Mindhunter.
I will.
That was that David Fincher series on Netflix.
Yeah.
That was, all the characters were based on real people and all the stuff actually happened. And it was about, it was set in the 70s, about when like profiling didn't exist yet. So
it's actually true. So it's
all true. Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. Cause
yeah,
I've heard about it. And then when I just read about it, I was like, this is right up my alley. That's like my jam. But I was like, I don't think it's based on reality, because it doesn't say like based on true. It doesn't say that on like the poster and stuff. So,
oh wow,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because it uses the same names and everything and the same facts.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy. So that's weird that that's not on the poster, because I feel like for me, that's such a draw, because it's.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's based on the book Mindhunter that John Douglas, who for all intents and purposes invented profiling. It's about how he came to figure out how to do it and how it came to be. And so the first season is literally just interviewing serial killers.
Wow.
And so I had 2 episodes as Jerry Brudos, who was in the late 60s known as the Lust Killer in Oregon. He had, or the people that had the misfortune of meeting him, he was a serial killer, a serial rapist, a cross-dresser, and a necrophiliac.
Wow, that's a whole lot for one person.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot.
It's amazing he had time for all that.
I know, Jesus. So that's who you played?
Yeah. It was intense. And Fincher, is amazing, but also like very, very
I've heard.
meticulous and intense and hard on you, but also
really
like but he also like really looks after his actors. Like he will not stop until he's put you in the best position to succeed, or at least look good.
Or at least look good. That's no, that's wonderful. That's
yeah,
but I've heard him as a director is very, very meticulous. It's exhausting.
Yeah, there was an interview he did like right after the first season came out, and he was talking about, he's sitting there, Jonathan Groff and Holt, I forget his last name. They're the stars of it.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how one of my scenes was the longest in the whole season. And he was like, oh, we shot that scene 75 times, and I'd go in and I'd give notes to Jonathan, and then I'd come in and give him notes to Holt. And he goes, and Happy was like, what? We're really going to do this every time?
That's really funny. It's a lot.
I couldn't believe, I thought maybe he was kidding.
Because I've heard stories like that.
Yeah.
But so it fits the bill. That's really how it is.
Oh, well, with him, yeah. And,
yes.
A couple of years before that, I'd worked with one of his close friends, Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
And he was the exact opposite.
Isn't that fascinating?
It's unbelievable. Like I shot my part of 3 different episodes in one day once, in under 4 hours.
Jesus, and that's the opposite.
Yeah, for Mindhunter, each scene was 1 week at 15 hours a day.
Oh,
scenes were much longer in Mindhunter, but still.
But Wow, that is intense.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. So it's like funny because there's another actor that I'm friends with, and she's a working actor, but she always says like people think that being on set is this glamorous thing, and
Right.
and it's wonderful if we get the chance as actors to be on set and do what we love, but it's also not all glamorous. It's exhausting. It's long days, early
Yeah.
mornings. It's a lot. You must have
Oh
been
yeah, I
exhausted.
wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it glamorous at all, ever. But
Ever. I
but
know.
it's the best work you can get. I mean, like
Yep.
if you wanted to do it since you were a little kid, like usually I love every second of it.
Yeah.
But it's not glamorous. I'm
No.
always tired.
I feel like that's one of the reasons when I first started acting, I was like doing a bunch of like theater stuff, and I love theater, but I was like, holy crap, it's so exhausting because it's like it doesn't end like shooting something, like there's like
Right.
It's
Right.
yeah. But so are you one of those people that loved it since you were a kid?
Oh yeah, my whole life. Yeah.
Really?
And yeah, and I've done, I mean, professional theater since I was 16. So I'm
Wow.
43 now, and I went to
Wow.
I studied in college and in grad school. I've never not done it really, but I've only been making like a decent living probably in the last 10 years.
That's it's a lot more than other people can say. That's amazing. No,
Yeah.
seriously. That's so you studied it in college and grad school.
Yeah, and I've taught a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I occasionally teach this 1-day workshop about auditioning for the camera here in New York, and it was a really successful workshop for a while, and then I was out of town too much to do it, and then I had it scheduled to do it again in the middle of March.
It's perfect timing.
Yeah. And once they canceled the NBA
knows?
season, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get to teach this thing.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
How are you staying busy, or like are you missing it a lot right now?
Oh my God. This is the longest I've gone without either doing a play or a TV show or a movie or even a commercial since I was 13. So that's 30 years. So it feels like I'm grieving. It feels like grief and just like it's hard to like stay up, and it's slowly. I don't know if you found this, but it's like slowly kind of coming back. Like I've had a few self tapes and a few meetings and stuff like that, but it's nowhere near back yet all the way.
I know, and depending on who you talk to, it's like, oh, production's coming back, and it's starting very, very small. But
Right.
I don't know how that's going to translate into productions for bigger projects and, television and stuff, unless there's like a huge budget to quarantine everybody, which is what some projects are doing, but those are very high budget projects.
Yeah, totally. And the stuff that I'm up for right now is all that. Like everyone's in a hotel together, and you could only go from one place to the other. And so,
right.
I mean, I'm so excited to hopefully work again soon, but it's not going to be that fun, I don't think, because so much of the fun is the social aspect of it, and that's going to be gone.
It's so I agree with you. It's so weird. It's like hard to stay up, you said, like, and that's kind of how it is. Like one of the greatest things that happened from doing this is just, I could be like down and like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to like just sad and want to isolate and nothing matters anyway. Nothing's going on. But then I like connect with you, or I connect when I do this, and I'm like a different person after I record an episode. I'm
that's
like,
great.
This is like getting to know other humans,
making
connections with people, talking about things you love. I miss that.
Totally. You don't realize how much you miss it too until like you get a little bit of it back. You know what I mean? It's
funny because I'm very extroverted, but I nobody ever sees this, but I'm very introverted. And so I'll be like, oh, I don't want to. And I'll dread going to a studio to work. But as soon as I'm there, I'm like, boom, 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 out of myself, with my people, giving. It's just so much better.
Yeah, it is. That's so funny you say that too. I'm the exact same way. I don't want to leave a fucking house. And then,
ever.
No. I'm like, what makes you think I want to see people? But then once I see people, I'm so happy.
So fun. It's so funny. It's exactly how it goes for me. It's like, even if I'm like, I'll sometimes give myself permission, because I used to, for years when I was younger, no matter how I felt, I'd always have a smile on and I'd be pleasant.
Right.
And now I give myself permission that I don't have to be crazy smile. I could still be appropriate, but I can also not be like completely like, hey, everybody. And I give myself that permission. But then as soon as I'm with people, it's like taken away. It becomes about them, like, especially if I'm working a casting, really watching, having so much focus on somebody else, giving direction, and then I'm out of myself.
Right.
I always knew I'm better with other people, but I never realized how significantly important it is to my well-being.
I know. Mental health and everything.
I know.
Yeah.
Completely. And where are you? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you, what city are you in?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. I'm in New York. I'm in Queens.
Oh, I'm in New York too.
Are you?
Yeah. Hudson Heights on like in the 190s in Fort Washington.
Oh, nice. How is it over there?
It's great. I mean, this is like, we lived in Queens for a decade, and then we lived in kind of Washington Heights, the edge of Washington Heights, for a bunch of years. And then we moved uptown a little bit, and it's such a nice, calm neighborhood. Like nothing happens. It's all families. It's just quiet. So,
see, that's 199th, and like what avenues are around it? Like, is it
like Fort Washington, Cabrini, Pinehurst? We're west of Broadway.
Okay, got it. It's funny because I used to live on the Upper East Side for like 7 years, and it was so quiet, and it was peaceful. I mean, I'm sure it's way more so where you are, but even so, like going from East Side to like near Times Square and crap, I'm like, Jesus,
yeah, it's another country.
It's another country.
Yeah.
Every time I'm there, it's like being on the subway again. I'm like, oh, I hate people. Like, get out of my way.
No, it's so bad.
Like the true New Yorker comes out like hard.
Fuck yeah, man. It's like, what are you doing here? You don't belong in front of me.
I know. What are you doing? Move. Where are you from originally?
I'm from upstate, just an hour and a half north of the city, a little town called High Falls.
Okay, nice.
That should be a different planet, really. It's so close to the city, but like I grew up in fucking trees and mountains and a valley,
really,
like, in the middle of the woods.
Did you like it?
At the time, not at all, but now I love to visit. And my whole family moved away from there, so we only get up every once in a while just to like stay in an Airbnb or whatever. And I love it up there now.
It's amazing. Like now, that is precious to me. Like having nature. My dad lives in Long Island, and a little house where the houses are next to each other. But even he went away to visit my brother this past weekend, and we had gone there, stayed at the house. Even just having like a screen door and walking outside, not having to have a mask in your apartment building. It was like hearing the crickets. It was heaven.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Is that where you're from originally, Long Island?
Yeah. Same house that I was born in.
No shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know. Great. Nobody ever lives in the same place.
Never.
Ever. I know. So it's really nice to get out.
Yeah. And necessary.
Very necessary. It's like, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to ask, what casting office do you work for?
Freelance.
Oh, you
everything.
Freelance.
That's probably especially another reason you can't pinpoint me, because I'm at like every different studio.
That's exactly why. Yeah. I probably ran into you like multiple times.
Yeah, because it's either I've worked on films, I've worked on commercial, and like either at a different studio or for a different agency, or it's always different.
Right.
Or the
now,
okay.
How does one become a freelance casting director?
No idea. No, my story is very, very strange. Like, I just wanted to act my entire life, and I didn't do that like you. I share this like all the time when I explain where I come from, but like my mom had gotten sick when I was young, and she passed away when I was a teenager, and I just everything shut down, and I stopped doing anything creative until I graduated college. I went to school for psychology and sociology, and always knowing I want to be an actor. And it wasn't until years after college that I finally I was in a place where I was ready to pursue my dream. And I was at like one of my first auditions ever. And I ran into like an old friend, and they were like, Samantha? And I was like, such and such, so. And they were like, hey, would you want a job in casting? And I was like, meanwhile, I'd been bartending, nannying, all of that stuff. Totally. And I was like, great. I get to be in the field. And I started working at casting networks. You know casting networks?
Yeah, it's
like Actors Access, one of those online submission things. Yeah. So I started working in the office there. And they would also send me out to be a lobby assistant to some, like when Donna DeSeta used to have an office.
Right.
And that turned into, long story short, one day somebody was like, can you run camera? Can you be a cam op? And I was like, oh, you have to show me what to do. Maybe, I don't know. Like, sure, but you got to show me. And then like, they were very happy with what I did, and the client was so happy, and I went to be their go-to cam op person. Then they passed my name along, and then people were like, you're in the rooms all the time anyway. Like, why don't you run a session? And then I just started running sessions. And
that's wild.
Bizarro, right? So
you literally just fell into it.
Totally fell into it. And I'm so glad though. Well, yeah. I'm always glad, but it took me, it's bizarre because it took me so far from acting, which you would think is because there was like no time to pursue acting when you're casting. Like the days were so crazy and intense.
Yeah.
But then acting came first. Only more recently did I go, if I'm going to do it, it has to come first. So,
yeah. Yeah. So you kind of transitioned out of casting a little.
Yeah. Like I still do it freelance, but it's always with like under the umbrella of, as long as if I get an audition, I'll be able to make it. As long as then I'll work. But if I can't do that, if it's not possible, then I won't.
That's how you got to be.
It's got to be the foremost important thing.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. Like every other job, you have to be comfortable walking away from at a moment's notice.
Yeah. And it's like, and you know, I've heard when I've other casting directors and stuff and other agents, they'll say to actors like, you can't have a day job. You can't. Right. And it's like, it's easier said than done, because how do you survive? Like, you know, it's like that catch-22. You want to be an actor, but you need to make money to survive. So it's like
rent and electricity.
Right. You know, things that sometimes you need, you know.
Maybe some food if you're lucky.
Just a little. Yeah. So I am really curious. So a couple of things. One, what is it like for you? Like, it's probably a lot of things because you studied so much, but what is your preparation like for acting? Like if you ever roll?
Right. Well, it totally depends on the project. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't, you know, devote myself to any one technique. That's okay.
Yeah. I just like dropped the computer. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't ascribe to any one particular technique, you know.
Yep.
You know, there's some, like in the case of Mindhunter, I studied up on the guy. He was a real guy, and he died in 2006. So I read the book about him. I went online to see if there was any video of him. There was very, very little, but I saw a smidge, and I did a lot of like kind of like personalization imagery work, sort of in the Eric Morris style. And but then for other things, like for Bad Boys for Life, I learned the lines and said them and went home. I was doing an off-Broadway play, and I'm on my way to the show, and my manager calls and says, they want you to do Bad Boys 3. I said, I didn't even know there was a Bad Boys 3. And so after the show on Saturday, they flew me down. I think maybe the same night they flew me down to Atlanta, and Will actually got me the job, which was shocking because I did a movie
Wow.
a few years prior. But you know, you work with movie stars all the time, and I always assume I don't make much or any impression because they meet so many actors. And but he got me he requested me, and so that first thing Sunday morning, I find myself in a conference room in Atlanta at the production office with Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, the two directors, the writer, and Jerry Bruckheimer. And I'm like, what is
just
happening?
A bunch of nobodies in a room, you know.
I know. I was really like, what? What is happening? This is bizarre. Yeah, it was crazy.
Was that fun for you to be able to play, or was there stress about it, or how was that?
No, you know, I was so tired. I didn't get nervous or stressed at all. I just had a lot of fun, and like Will went out of his way to like make me feel like a part of the company, and so I was very comfortable. Yeah,
that's so nice to hear, and so wonderful that he specifically asked for you. And
crazy.
Like, you know, you think you make no impression or you're just another actor, but you're not. You're you, and that stuck with him, which is wonderful.
That's what I always tell when my clients, when I coach or teach.
Yep.
Really just worry about you. Just be you.
Just be you. I know.
If they want you to pick your own material, do material that just shows your personality.
Yep.
That's it. That's all that matters in the beginning. It's it.
That's it. It's so funny because I think, and this is something that kind of I hit like almost a new bottom with over quarantine.
Okay.
Which is like, I am done caring.
Yeah.
What anybody thinks. Like I've gotten so much better since I was younger. I mostly don't care. I do my thing. I can trust in myself, and I work hard, you know, but even more so, I'm like, I don't want to care anymore, because when I coach and when I teach, I'm like, the death of what you're going to do is going in there and worrying about how they want it, doing it right, if they like you, what they're thinking. F it.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can't be a mind reader. You have no fucking idea what they want.
None whatsoever.
So you're either right or not. That's it. Right?
Exactly.
Live or die by being you.
Exactly. And even if it's wrong, right? If you're committed, if you're in it, like that is way more interesting. Even if that's not what they're looking for, they will at least remember that.
Yes.
Whereas if somebody's trying to do it and they're saying the lines, great, nobody's gonna remember that. They're just doing lines, or just, you know what I mean?
And plus, desperation makes people uncomfortable.
Like my acting teacher always would say this, but it's kind of like when you're dating, it's like that. If somebody shows up and like, so like wants you to like them, and they're like, it's immediately a turn off. People want to chase. They want confidence. God, I'm so glad I'm not dating anymore. But like, it's the same thing. So to go in there, like, hi, do you like me? Hi, I want you to like me. And it's the human condition, right? We all want to be accepted.
And it's a hard business. You want people to like you.
Yes, exactly. I think
you want to please.
And it's so funny because whenever I would talk to my boyfriend about this, he'd always be like, who doesn't like, he's so lovely about it, but he's like, one day he just kind of gave it to me. He's like, are you a nice person? Are you thoughtful? Do you care about people? Are you giving? Do you do that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, who couldn't like you? And I'm like, oh my God, that's Jerry Seinfeld's mom. Jerry, who couldn't like you? How could they not like you, Jerry?
That's true.
I know. It's like, just as long, so for myself, just learning to trust. It's like that whole, I'm enough, just be exactly who I am and let that be.
But that's also a process too, to get there. Like, it doesn't come naturally to most people, I don't think. It didn't to me.
It did not for me.
The way I end my class a lot of times is I say, when you leave well, it's going to be different now because it looks like self-tapes are the way of the future.
I want to ask you about that, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I want to ask you about that.
But I've always said that when you leave an audition, never in your mind should you think, did I nail it? Did I get it? Did I crush it? Do they like me? Ask yourself 2 questions. Did I tell the truth, and did I enjoy myself? And if you can say yes to both of those, then you did your job. Because you have so much has to go right to get the phone call. So forget the phone call.
I know, right. That is just like a crazy added bonus level if you get the phone call.
Yeah, that's the cherry on top. Exactly.
Exactly. And being on the casting side, I've seen how much goes into who gets that role and how much it changes, where you could never imagine. It just completely flips and you nailed it and they were going to go with you, and then at the last second switch the role completely or went in a different, one person says one thing, it changes. It's crazy.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of that without using names?
Sure. Or
if you want to use names, I'll
No, yeah. For example, in commercials, that happens.
Oh, yeah.
That happened. No joke. I've been in rooms with clients where they have all the finalists laid out, all the pictures, their size cards, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yep. And it's like, done. And then they go, oh, like, no exaggeration. They kind of look like they could be Asian. We had an Asian, like 2 commercials ago. And then it scraps the whole thing. And then they wind up, because they can't choose the woman that kind of looked Asian, even though she was Hispanic, like, then they had to go with an African-American, which switched all the other choices. Like,
oh my word.
No joke. Here's a great one. I'll never forget this one. It was for a commercial. It was like the first guy that came in. They loved him. They were set. They did a whole day of casting, but they were set on this guy. The call went out to him, everything. And then all of a sudden, the director goes, I don't know, his head shape looks a little funny. And they were like, oh, I think it's just the haircut, because his hair is like spiky like that. He's like, From that, everything changed. They had a whole other day of casting.
Oh my
God. Had this guy come in. They did his wardrobe. They cut his hair to try and make him look less pointy headed. And like, the guy did not get the job after all of that because of one little comment.
But they booked him?
He was on hold. They had him come in, work with wardrobe. They did not book him. They had him but they had him come in, do the wardrobe, cut his hair.
Oh my word. And
then they didn't go with him. It's like, because one person went and it was the director. So they had the say.
Yeah, of course.
But that's how, they loved this guy. I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. I learned a lot.
That puts you at an advantage though as an actor though, because you're like, oh, it's not personal. So I'm just gonna do this.
It's like, I don't know whether it's worked. I think it's a good thing, but it's also like there's so much more of I don't give a shit thing now.
Yeah,
because which is, I think, ultimately a good thing, because it's like this whole, I'm just going to go in there and be me. If I get it, like there's so much that can happen. So most likely not going to get it. So I might as well just go in and have fun. And like, I don't know. That's kind of how it is.
That's the thing too. Like if you fail 90% of the time, you're doing amazing.
Exactly.
That's like a huge success.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Just moving my computer. Yeah. Hey,
technical difficulties. 1 second. Thanks for coming. Hold on.
Sorry about that. All right. So guys,
No
I got
worries.
my mic working again after I broke it. So thank you, Happy. I appreciate you understanding. So what the hell was I saying? Yeah, it kind of put me at an advantage. It kind of works for me in that I don't care. But you were saying, yeah, like if you fail 90% of the time, you're doing great.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's like now, yeah, it's because I told you I only started putting acting first as of I think it's less than 2 years. So I started, so it's still, while I was doing it, I was always studying throughout the years, but I could never got on auditions and stuff. So while doing it, I'm like, I feel that I want to get out there and fail 90% of the time. I want to just get out there and
Yeah, the audition's the job. Right.
Exactly.
You prepare for the audition as if you already have the job. That's it. And then the job's over, probably.
Yep, exactly. Man, I'm really happy for you that you're working and that you're getting to do what you love. That is
thank you.
Thank you. I know it's hard work, but it's a dream come true.
Yeah. It's both things are very true. And also there's still, no matter where you are, I think there's still always a lot of disappointment. That's just part of the thing.
Yeah.
But if you can make peace with that, you can have a good life with it, I think.
I know. It's kind of like with anything, right? If you can if you can have acceptance and not fight it all and roll with it, man, if it were only that easy.
I know. If I can keep acceptance over my expectations, then I can have a very good day.
Yes. Amen to that. So you were saying, so you've had some projects that you're up for now. Have those been like self-tapes and
all of them? And my agent is here in New York, and my manager is in LA.
Oh, okay.
Or in the LA office of his company, and all of them are like, it's going to be self-tape for the foreseeable future. Like, even after there's a vaccine and all, it's going to be that way for a long time. Which I've come to. I used to prefer to go in, because like doing self-tapes in the past, I've really I miss the interaction and the adjustments that you sometimes get. Like, it's so helpful, just to play a totally different thing than you had prepared to play. Yes. But now I kind of love just doing it here. I've gotten used to it, and I can just shuffle in from the bedroom and be like, okay,
If you're shooting mid-frame, you don't even have to wear pants. It's wonderful.
Dude, I've done so many pantless auditions, I don't even know.
I love it so much. I know. The self-tapes, it's so crazy because I was watching the news, I think yesterday, and they were just saying how New York is dead forever. And they were kind of saying that because they see that it works, people working remotely, that there's not going to be a need for so many office buildings, people renting space, that it's going to really change. If people can work and live in Texas and have a bigger house and not have to pay the mortgages in New York, why are they going to? Right. Exactly. So, but with our business, I think it's very different. Like you talked about the adjustments in the room. I think that is huge. I've had people come in that are very talented and they do something, and my instinct is to tell them to give some kind of adjustment, and it turns it around. And, I'm knocking wood, but people have booked things based on an adjustment, or because if you could take direction, so it's tough to have people just have that one go,
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I guess the response to that has been well, we'll see the tape, and if we like it, we'll email you an adjustment and you tape again. But it's not the same. It's not nearly as fun anyway.
No.
And especially if the director themselves are in the room, it can be exciting. You can see if there's an energy between you and them. And,
yes. There's nothing like meeting someone. It's, it's so funny because kind of like a mentor for me in my life. I remember him saying he used to always speak to this person on the phone, and he knew what he looked like. They had seen each other, whatever. And they got along great on the phone. And then they met in person, and it was terrible.
No way.
And it's kind of it's interesting. In-person energy is it's kind of the same thing with online dating. When I used to online date, it's you get a great vibe from somebody, and then you can meet somebody, and it's just there's an energy between people.
Yeah, it's just not there. Yeah.
And especially if you're one of those people where your energy works for you, and you're likable, and people tend to gravitate towards you, it's a disservice for those people that can't get into the room. Totally.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the fact of the matter is we don't actually know what's going to happen. Nobody does.
Nobody knows.
Nobody really has any fucking idea. But because excuse me, because they've been able to have so much success getting people off tape that's like the general vibe right now.
I know.
But it changes day to day and moment to moment.
I know. They don't know anything yet in more ways than one. It's so new. Everything is everyone's just trying to adapt moment by moment, like you said.
Yeah. And no one knows what to adapt to, right? Because what's happening, the reality of it actually changes almost daily. So it's like, oh, okay, this is the way the world is.
Right.
For now.
We just got this bit of information, which totally changes what we said yesterday.
Yeah.
It's
all the time.
Constantly.
So I hope I get to work soon. But again, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You don't have to tell me when we're talking. I'm curious who your reps are. But you could tell me after if you want.
I don't mind. It's on my website.
Great.
Stewart Talent in New York and Industry Entertainment in Los Angeles. But they're bi-coastal. Like there's a Stewart office in LA and an Industry office in New York. It just my point people happen to be in New York and LA.
That's great. I mean, it's great to have both bi-coastal.
Yeah, I didn't realize how important it would be because I've worked in LA a lot and I've ended up making like significant like relationships with different offices in LA that I wouldn't have gotten to otherwise.
Yeah.
And one of the people that gets me work the most is a very busy casting office in Los Angeles.
You never know, man.
Yeah.
And you didn't live out there, right?
I've never lived out there. I mean, I've spent like months at a time there.
Right.
But I've never had an address. An address.
An address. I always love that. That always cracks me up. My dad says, Best Buy, the store, Best Buy. And he says, Wi-Fi. He never understands it.
Yeah.
Cracks me up. Oh my God. So what was I going to say? So your movie's out. Have you not seen it? Are you going to see it?
I'll see it eventually. I mean, like, we can't see it here.
I know.
Honestly, I wouldn't feel comfortable going to a theater right now, I don't think.
Yeah.
Although I am going to go back to the gym this week, which I'm very excited about.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's great.
In my gym, you have to, make an appointment for your workout.
Do you?
Yeah, because they have to keep it only 30% capacity. Right. So, it'll be socially distanced. Everyone's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And I just meant like working out outside isn't the same. And I'd always feel a lot better, even if my workout wasn't very long, to just get the endorphins flowing. Yes.
Well, that I know. It's funny. I'm one of those people that I work out better at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is bizarre because most people like need to commit to going to the place, and otherwise they don't do it.
Right.
So I can't. It must have been very difficult. I mean, I didn't work out at home anyway, but but when I do, I'm good to do it at home. But yeah, no, a lot of people like this time with food at home and not exercising. Just it's a grimy feeling.
The other thing, locking everyone inside, everyone got more unhealthy because we were all stressed out. So people were emotionally eating and not going out. So there's very little exercise happening. I mean, it's been a perfect storm of bad health.
Yes, I know. I know. I really hope. Sounds like you guys have been safe, been very cautious.
We've been very, very cautious, and our neighborhood never got super bad in terms of cases.
That's great.
Just south of us and certainly to the east of us got pretty gnarly.
Really?
But, but our like little universe was pretty good. So
that's great.
So far.
I know. I did that while you were looking down. I was like,
what neighborhood in Queens do you live in?
I live in Rego Park. So it's like right down the block. It's Rego Park. It's right down the block from Forest Hills.
Forest
Hills. Yeah, it's like
absolutely.
It's literally right down the road. But yeah, Forest Hills is like the known one.
Yeah.
So but Queens was so bad that we
I remember
did not leave the apartment for so long.
Queens was really gnarly. And I have a friend who was the attending at Elmhurst Hospital.
Oh boy.
When it was at its worst.
Oh man. That is.
Wow. What she described, I was just like, Jesus.
I know. God willing, I hope that New York stays doing well.
I know. And it's funny because some neighborhoods aren't doing well with compliance, but the numbers have stayed terrific.
I know. I don't know what to make of it because like.
Me neither.
Every time we, like when I'm pointing because my boyfriend's like over there. Every time we've gone out, like nobody's wearing masks. And
it's
like
crazy.
I live in a building, there's a lot of elderly people and they'll all be in the lobby together, not wearing masks and like throughout all this. And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I hope that it stays okay, but
I know. That's the thing. Like 25 days now, under 1%. Like, I don't understand how that. I mean, unless there's some degree of herd immunity, I don't know. But that's been the really great thing about my neighborhood is everyone wears a mask.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, but it's very neighborhood by neighborhood. You know, I remember one of the first times I actually left the neighborhood. Was to actually get my first corona test, and I went to the Upper East Side, and everyone there was wearing a mask. Everyone in my neighborhood was wearing a mask, but in the Uber ride back, we went through the 170s east of Broadway, and almost nobody was wearing a mask.
It's so crazy.
I don't know what that's about, or like why some neighborhoods do and don't. I don't.
And I get so upset when people like I was at like Dwayne Reed recently and the cashier I'm about to go pay and she's looking behind me and she's like, and she was so like pissed and I was like, are you okay? And she looked behind me and there was a 20-something-year-old girl not wearing a mask on her phone, not caring. And she said to the girl, like, I can't help you if you don't wear a mask. And the girl was like, I forgot it at home. I'll be quick. Sorry. Like, no care.
They don't give a shit.
And it like broke my heart for this woman behind the counter. I was like, because it's fine if you don't care, but other people care. And like it's not just about you.
I know.
We're both just like, I know.
Trying to get Americans to think about someone other than themselves, though, is not that easy.
It is not. It really is not. It's baffling, right?
Yeah, it's sickening. But, you know, what are you going to do? You can only control what you do.
And you know what? I got to say, like, talking to people like you, and really, like, this is so nice talking to you. And it really gives me hope that there are whatever normal we are, but like normal, they think straight about things, down to earth, nice, caring people. It's like, okay, so for every jackass that's being selfish and disregarding, there's people that do care, you know? Right. Reinforces my faith in humanity.
Yeah, I do believe that too, actually. I mean, there's a ton that don't care, but there's plenty that do.
And it's really, and it's better now, obviously, but like one of the hardest things to begin with was that we couldn't help one another. Like, I know. That was the craziest thing. Like there's an older man in my apartment. He's not like in my apartment.
He's right next to you right now, actually.
He's hiding behind the couch. So that guy, and he's like senile. And for so long I was worried. I wanted to like go and see if he was okay, but I couldn't, you know, because it's like, it's dangerous to hit. Not. So that's a tough part of all this.
Yeah, I know, because it's not like when 9/11 hit and people like would hug people and like help people along. Like the helping was stay away.
Right. Exactly. I know. A woman,
which totally goes against my nature, you know?
It's like especially when I'm feeling compassionate, like I just want to be there and give. And it's like, it was so heartbreaking not to be able to do that.
Oh, the worst.
And so many people are hurting. Yeah. Go ahead.
We've just started seeing friends in person. You know, socially distanced dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
We've only seen a handful, but oh my God. Like just the feeling of touching someone other than my wife was surreal, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. It's the craziest thing. We went, it was weeks ago, but we went to like a friend's backyard barbecue thing. And it was like, it was so much to take in. I actually was like emotional and like, was like, had this nervous energy. Cause like I hadn't seen their baby. They had a baby. The baby was there. Old friends were there. They were there. And it was like, it was so much to take in.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. I've even getting on like these Zoom calls sometimes, I'm like, there gets this like nervous energy. And I'm like, did I forget how to like talk to people? I get like, it's like this weird feeling where I'm like, oh my God, another human.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. And it's been all about Zoom, you know, like I've done, I've taught workshops over Zoom. I think this is like the third interview I've done on Zoom. And it's like, this is like how we know people now.
That's
it. A little screen.
I know. It's so like, it's very, very nice to talk to you. And I'm like, hope I get to see you in person again.
I know. I was just thinking that.
It's like bizarre, you know?
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's nice even doing this though. There's people that I hadn't even met before. I'd met like once and got to know them better through doing this. And we've been in touch since. And like,
oh, great.
Yeah. People that I probably wouldn't have connected with otherwise. So it's like,
no, almost definitely, I would think.
Almost definitely. Exactly. So it's like, you know what? It's nice. Yeah. It's a nice thing. And in some ways it's a gift.
There is a bunch of positive shit coming out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. You're drinking the same thing I am.
Oh my God. This is not an advertisement. We're not doing a commercial.
This was a top secret audition. Yeah, they didn't even know I was on.
I know. See, man, I'm that good. You know, I don't even have to direct you. I just make it natural. That's so awesome. So I have a question that I ask people when they come on my show. And there's a portion of my show. It's called The Feather in Your Cap. And so when I say that, I mean a success or an achievement of yours, something that you've learned that has served you, or that may even serve you in the future. Something that you'd be willing to share with either the viewers or the listeners. And it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be acting related. It could be anything.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the most important thing I've learned, I think we covered a little bit, which is just to thine own self be true, you know, never be inauthentic and you won't regret anything.
It's so like, so simple and so difficult.
I know. Keep it simple, stupid.
I know that line well. Man, I love that. And just, you know, you said that's not something that came to you naturally, that you had to work at it.
No, well, certainly not in terms of like in context of acting, you know, like when I was a teenager or even in my 20s, I was like, just how can I shapeshift myself to be more liked and more, you know, noticed or whatever. And then, well, it's like you said, like once I got to be about 29, 30, I was like, fuck it. I don't, you know, it's either going to happen or it isn't. I don't know. And then I got my first movie, which I had to fly to the Middle East to go to. My first job, I went to Amman, Jordan. Yeah, it was crazy. After like my 20s being totally barren, basically, in terms of film and television.
Yes. See, I always say this because look, I didn't even start acting until after college and everything. And there is no one set path. I say this all the time when I talk to different people. Everybody's path is different. And to expect it to happen on a certain timetable is just that, like we talked about, expectation is just the death.
Well, I mean, you're setting yourself up for fucking misery and resentment.
Yep. Misery and resentment, exactly. Acceptance is the answer, my friend. Dude, it's so nice to have you on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Congrats on the movie being out, and I wish I could go see it. I actually, I don't know if are you sure that theaters aren't open in New York? I'm curious.
That's what I keep reading. Like in the reviews, they're like, theaters are open in these states and not these other states. And California and New York have consistently been on the no states, or at least New York City. I forget that Cuomo's rules change all the time, so I don't.
Yes, I know. And like Long Island's like a totally different story.
Yeah.
So
it's like a different state.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, wait, you can do that? Like my dad's like, yeah. I'm like, that's weird. Like I don't know any of that. So what was I gonna say? So guys, so those of you that can go to the movie theater, if you're safe enough to do so, the New Mutants is out with our friend Happy Anderson. Definitely go see it. And where can people keep up with you? I'm going to put your info, if that's easier. All of Happy's info will be posted along with the episode, so you can keep up with him, what he's doing, awesome work that's going on. But if you want to say it too, you can. Up to you.
Oh, sure. My Instagram is @HappyAndersonActing. My Twitter is HappyAnderson8, but I basically don't participate in Twitter. I don't know why. I'm just like, I don't want to fucking say what I think.
And then deal with you after I say it.
Yeah. I don't need opinions, man. And my website is happyandersonacting.com.
So this guy's meowing over here. This is Charles Xavier.
What a cutie pie.
He's a big boy. And then Storm is over there. Yeah, they're like Maine Coons. So they're these big lion cats.
I love Maine Coons. They're so friendly.
They're like
jump
dogs.
Right on your lap. Yeah, exactly.
It's the funniest thing that you walk in the door and they plop on the floor, lay over, and just want you to rub their belly.
It's the best.
It's the best. They're the sweetest ever. I love them.
We have two cats, but they're not Maine Coons. Waylon and Willie are their names.
Aww. Are they brothers?
No, we got them a year apart. Waylon spent the first year of his life on the mean streets of Jackson Heights, and Willie was born on a farm upstate owned by this appellate court judge who would bottle feed the kittens, and so she is like so social and will talk.
I know.
And like will go up to anybody. And Waylon, if anyone other than Meg or I are in the house, he hides.
Aww. So. Do they get along with each other?
Very well. Yeah.
Aren't cats the best, man?
I love them.
I didn't grow up with cats. We had a dog, and then like
they're great too.
Oh, dogs are amazing, but I never got cats until we rescued one at my dad's, and then we took in a stray who became our baby, and then I took them in, and I hate saying rescued. They weren't like drowning in a thing, but like I took them in, and their cats are amazing.
Yeah, and it's a totally different kind of relationship with a cat than a dog.
Totally.
I mean, like even emotionally different.
Oh, it's so different. It's so different. It's like, but again, if you expect if people expect their cats to be like dogs, you're gonna be very disappointed.
They're gonna be so disappointed. They don't do that.
They don't do that. It's so funny. I want to see your cats now. That's awesome.
I don't know where they are.
Are they there?
No. Well, Waylon's hiding. I don't know where the fuck Willie is. She might be with my wife.
I love it. You're gonna have to come on again sometime. It's really lovely to have you. You're so
nice
awesome.
To chat with you.
It's so nice to chat with you. And so, guys, thank you for tuning in to Big Face. And Happy's information is going to be with this episode. And man, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
You can like, rate, subscribe, any of that good stuff to keep this going so we can all stay connected. And love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And Happy, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Man.